So he asked me, do you believe everybody is worthy of being? And I said, this may be a radical idea. Yes, I do. I do believe that. So to give you the context of this story, we're outside the library at the lunch benches. And I'm sitting there talking with two 11th graders. One is from Pakistan, another one is from Korea. Their parents are, they're international school students. We got onto the conversation of your billboard message. I said, if you could put one message on a billboard that the whole world could see, what would it be? We're going around. And he said, well, what would you say, Mr. Marcus? And I said, well, dear child of mine, you're worthy of being. And that's when he asked the question. When he said, yeah, do you believe everybody's worthy of being? I told him my response. I said, yeah, I really do. And just like in writing, we tell people to give evidence and examples for their beliefs as to why they believe it. And I said, well, where do we learn about value and worth? Like when a baby is born, the baby doesn't know where its skin ends and the rest of this universe begins. So it's something that is taught to us. It's something that we learn. I said, the idea of value, when we're growing up as kids, we take whatever our parents say, teachers and society, and we believe it as true. Yet we get to a certain age, about like 12 or 13, we start to see like some things aren't adding up, and we start to question what is true, because when we start to add up things, we're like, well, that doesn't make sense in my mind. Is this person lying to me? And when we have to start forming our own identity around 15, like, okay, I don't know if I can trust this person or that person based on the things that we're seeing, then we start to, push back, which this is a part of life. This is just the natural flow of things. And then very briefly, I explained to him the concept of the shadow self. I didn't use that language. I explained that there are aspects of yourself that you try to hide. Your parents are telling you something and you're like, okay, I will show them this and then keep this other part in the shadow, because we feel as though our identity is being judged by them. Or, are we measuring up? Are we valuable to them? And then we say, okay, I'm going to show my group of friends this part of me and then keep this other part in the shadow. And I'm going to show society this part of me and keep this part in the shadow. When you have all these parts pulling at you, there's a section that's continually staying inside the shadow. And it's not a bad part of you. It's just a part that we don't show other people. And because we don't show other people this part, it doesn't get to develop along with us. And I said, there's nothing wrong with that part. It's just when we come back to start exploring that part of us, in a place where we feel comfortable sharing it with other parts, then we can start to be as a whole person. That's when we start to understand our full worth. I said, a baby is born worthy of being, and that is always with the baby throughout its life. He said, well, what about people who, this is a student, he said, well, what about people who do evil and bad things? I explained to him, it's because they think that they're not worthy of being, that they actually do these things, hurt and harm others or hurt and harm themselves, thinking that it might help fill part of them that is not worthy. There are many other reasons, without getting into the details of it and so on. I understand if we're talking about the whole world, you feel as if it's hard to find people. And I said, even before we think about people who have done quote-unquote evil things, in order to go far, let's start near. I know this for sure, that you two sitting here right in front of me, I said, you're worthy of being. He said, yeah? I said, yeah. The reason I could say that with such authority is because I know I'm worthy of being. Inside my core, I know that about you two sitting here at this table. And I said, and it may be that you don't believe that. However, I hold that belief for you until you do. And I'll give you the evidence and examples to show it. And then he stopped, did a little head nod. However, that's not where the story ends. It is dope. So 2 days later, that was on a Tuesday. On a Thursday, they had a gallery show. Big ups to Mr. Will and Lit Trips. Always support the arts, any types of arts, of anything of expression, right? Because in expression, that's when we figure out who I am as an artist, and then who am I as the audience observing. I'm looking at the pieces that the kids did, and I come to his work, and he wants to talk to me about his piece. And I'm like, heck yeah. We're sitting there, we're talking about it, going, and I read his description and everything. And then I smile when I noticed. I said, hey, did you see that it's in black and red? His pictures were monochromatic with an accent of red. And I was just like, dude, I love black and red, man. I love that. And then I show him my bands, red and black. Then he said, did you plan this? I was like, no, man, no. Red and black are the colors that remind me to be heroic. It is a longer story. It's Miles Morales. If you ever wonder why I wear red and black, if I showed you the amount of red and black around me right now, my journals, this piece of paper that I read in the morning that I've written for myself, my curtains, shoots. Let me show you just real quick. Inside my living room, couches, my blackout curtains, my Sprint board, just black and red are the colors that remind me to be heroic. And then I showed him, I said, hey, look, you're wearing black and red. Oh, he was wearing a black and red plaid top. Anyhow, he was explaining the pieces to me. Then we then pulled it apart. And the same principles that I teach of, when you're entering into a conversation, what are your thoughts? What are the questions you have? And what are the new connections or epiphanies? Thoughts, questions, and epiphanies. That's critical thinking. And we're just going through this piece, critically thinking it. It was just a dope moment. I loved how his pieces juxtaposed with the idea you are worthy of being, because he was speaking to the mental health crisis that he finds him and his friends going through. And we know that's It's a rising issue for us. When I say us, the world. And I love that conversation we had because it was interesting. In all of his pieces, there were 4 pieces that go together. There was tape over the mouth, hands being held. And I was like, these were things that were constricting expression. Anyways, it's a much longer conversation. And then we took a picture because I wanted to capture this moment. I asked him, can I share that? He's like, yeah, just make sure to tag me in the video. Yeah. And with his permission, this was the picture. My takeaway from it, always have a word of encouragement to share because you never know who you're going to be speaking to and what you're going to be speaking about. That is to say, be ready in season and out of season. What are your takeaways from this? What are your thoughts, your questions, and your epiphanies, your newfound understandings? Leave it in the comments. Finally, just thank you, Karam. I never got to teach you long-term efficiently, but the times we have had conversations, I have learned so much. That is why I do what I do. I love of learning to understand as I pour out. There's an inpouring from the conversations I have. Thank you. All right. To the parents, caregivers, guardians, teachers, and so on, those who are in a role to serve others, let's continue to be heroic as we change the world with our words, our stories, and our actions. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Always end class with that. Thank you guys. Be beautiful where you are. Peace.